The Spinoff Podcast Network.
Are you making the most of your KiwiSaver investment? Generate is an award-winning KiwiSaver provider with a track record of strong long-term performance. Making a smart decision now could add tens of thousands of dollars by the time you reach retirement. Book a no-obligation chat with a Generate KiwiSaver advisor today at generatekiwisaver.co.nz/getadvice. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns.
I'm Toby Manhire, and this is Juggernaut, the story of the Fourth Labour Government, a podcast in 6 parts.
Doesn't give my opponents much time to run up to an election, does it?
This nation is at risk.
What do you think you're up to now, you perverted little liar?
I could smell the uranium on it as you lean towards the
most radical overhaul in the history of New Zealand's administration.
Juggernaut, the story of the Fourth Labour Government, made with the support of New Zealand On Air. Listen now on the Spinoff or wherever you get your podcasts.
Haere mai, kei te whakarongo koe ki te SUPERPOD o te taurua wano Takauma Whitu. Hello and welcome. Season's greeting to one and all, and to punish you for all being naughty this year. You're listening to the actual worst idea of all time, the Spinoff SUPERPOD 2017, a mashup of 4 popular Spinoff podcasts. Pod on the Couch, our music podcast. Gone Before Lunchtime, our politics podcast. On the Rag, our feminism podcast, and The Real Pod. No one really knows what that one's about.
That's very true.
My name is Leonie Hayden, and I'm joined here at the North Pole by Toby Manhire.
Tēnā koe.
Annabelle Lee.
Kia ora.
Ben Thomas.
Hello, everyone.
Duncan Greive.
Kia ora.
Alex Casey.
Kia ora.
Michele Court.
Hello.
And Henry Oliver.
Merry Christmas.
So, as mentioned, our subjects for the next hour will roughly include... Music, okay, 45 minutes.
Oh my God.
Roughly include music, politics, feminism, and popular culture. We're also joined by special guest Waimahi Rose, the only speaker who translated her mum. So I sort of chose roughly like one big issue per pod that would have dominated the sorts of things that we were all talking about this year. And Gone Before Lunchtime, you guys had a pretty quiet year. It was just an election.
Well, it did. Thanks, Leonie. It did kind of feel like we were approaching one of the most boring elections in living memory, and
how did it stack up against others?
Better, I would say, on the whole. In that, I mean, it was you know, remember when Andrew Little? Do you remember Andrew Little?
No.
Familiar.
He's been on a kind of redemption tour recently.
He's performing very well as a government minister so far.
Let's not get into that.
What are you doing?
Annabelle, it was amazing, wasn't it, the way that we were in that situation. We were expecting a cakewalk by the National Party, who still fared quite well, but then Jacinda Ardern was brought in to save the furniture in the way that Mike Moore had been, and there was no sense at that point, really, among many people, probably including Jacinda Ardern, that they could end up in government. It was just to avoid a complete capitulation and disaster.
It was surprisingly interesting, and absolute carnage for the minor parties. There were people falling over left, right and centre. Matidi Atude, Peter Dunn. The Māori Party got voted off the island by altogether. The tribe has spoken, and it wasn't kindly about them. But
so many tribes spoke.
So many tribes spoke, yeah. And it was Carl.
Nice reality TV illusion there.
Thanks.
Very
appropriate. So you've got 42 of the first 100 days left. Are they going to tick everything off?
Yeah, look, I mean, a lot of the 100 Days policy or program for Labor is setting up inquiries and beginning work on things. So, I mean, that's usually pretty easily. Yeah, they've got 58 more days to put out a press release saying they've started work on some of their key issues. So, I think they'll probably do it. With the election, the interesting thing is that for the last 3 years, polls have been showing that it's going to be a razor decision between National and Labour and the Greens, with New Zealand First holding the balance of power. And then we went through all the tumult and carnage and chaos of this year, where, you know, with parties being wiped off the map, with sort of the plummeting and then the redemption of Labour. You know, Winston Peters was looking like he might be Prime Minister, then he was like struggling to get back into Parliament. The Greens faced an existential threat, and at the end of all of it, we had a knife-edge election where the balance of power was held by Winston Peters. So I think if there's any lesson that we can draw from this year in politics, there's not really any point in trying to do anything, because our courses are set by fate, and we can no more avoid Winston Peters in government than the people in Final Destination can avoid being like killed by a train or something.
Wow, that's everyone think about that. Michele, can I ask you? You were an unashamed partisan in this matter, insofar as you were emceeing that amazing event at the town hall.
It was a bit rocking.
Can you sort of talk? I mean, you saw that from the stage, while the rest of us were watching from the stalls. And can you talk about that a little bit, and about whether or not what you think the Jacinda Ardern government might face in the way of challenges, whether they're from media or a short essay?
Oh, there's 2 questions, and I've already had a glass of wine, so I'll do them one at a time. It was an amazing day, and there was a sense that day that something remarkable was happening. There'd been enough lead up at that point. She'd been in the job for 2 weeks, so she was seasoned, and people kind of knew what to expect.
She'd done that amazing press conference, which was the first
the first thing she did.
Oh my God!
You, Bob, Peter, John, Sarah. Yeah, it was incredible. And so there was a real sense backstage of that. It was a really weird space to be in, because she's an old mate, and I went to hug her and nearly got felled by the security dude. And I was like, she's my friend, and he was, he could kill me in 47 different ways without thinking about it. But one of the things that I really remember is that I was emceeing, and we heard backstage that Colin Meads had passed away. And somebody came to me and said, can you put that into the introduction of the event? And I started crying, because I'm a puss, and said, no, I can't. And Jacinda said, I'll do it. I've already written it into my speech. And I went, Jesus, you're a statesperson. You can handle this shit. So, what was the second question? What are they going to face?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm wondering, with after the euphoria washes off a bit, it is a serious issue. Actually, a more interesting question, maybe, is: do you think? I think.
Yeah, I think you do think it.
I'd like to talk about what I think. There's been a lot of criticism of some of the questions that have been put to Jacinda Ardern. You're still writing that piece, right? For Spinoff.com. But do you I don't know. I sort of feel like it's a tricky area, because on the one hand, I sort of feel like sometimes it's a bit condescending to say, oh, you can't ask certain things and steer off that, and it's like, she's the Prime Minister, right?
Can I be really not very helpful and say that I think it's fantastic that people are tongue-tied when they go to ask her questions, because for so many centuries people have just dismissed women without having to think about it. And now people have to think really hard what kind of questions they ask her about how she is controlling things. I like the discomfort. I'm really enjoying it. Good fucking job.
Well, that's good. That's quite a good segue, I guess, into talking about the podcast that Michele and Alex and I do on the Rag, where we talk about stuff to do with women, a lot of stuff that's going on in social media and how it's perceived by the public. Our probably biggest event situation that happened here was probably the Weinstein discovery and the #MeToo kind of campaign that came out around it. So we ended 2016 with like a sexual predator being elected as president of the United States, and now we're ending 2017 with a bunch of sexual predators in power being called to account.
Yeah, and the woman who called them out on the cover of Time.
Which is amazing.
And not Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Was it true that he was a runner-up?
Yeah.
Is that actually true?
Yeah.
That's what he
Is it like a deliberate, like, so that he has to say I'm the runner-up, or do they genuinely think he was the second best?
You have to remember
That's
that person.
most influential.
Most
definitely a
Yeah, the person who had the most
Check
effect on the planet, as opposed to an awesome
because
human.
like Stalin won it twice, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he say as well that he just didn't want to go along and do the photo shoot, but otherwise it would have been him? I think that's
Stalin? Yeah, I don't think Stalin won the photo.
He's like, use that picture of me when I was young.
Good photo. Beautiful man.
So what's our like best case scenario then for the end of 2018?
They're going to have to do a lot of digital replacement, of people's faces. I see that in films. I see that happening a lot more moving forward. Weta Workshop's going to be
so busy.
Really good business.
Yeah, invest now.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, there was this big explosion, and then all these kind of quite massive movies and shows and people were just suddenly at a completely different, status than they've ever been. So I'll be interested to see what happens to shows like Transparent and Better Things, and if Louis C.K. can ever do anything again. Mm-hmm. My gut says maybe he'll be back next year doing something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or am I wrong? I don't want to get too like everything's changed forever.
No, it doesn't pay to do that because people are terrible and the world is dying. So
Mel Gibson's back.
Mel Gibson's in the Christmas flick Daddy's Home too, and people are loving it, So who knows?
Can we all say who we've done this a bit in the Spinoff office, where we've sort of named our beloved actors who would be the most devastated about if it turned out that they were like one of the bad ones?
Yes.
Can everyone say who they'd be most upset about discovering as a bad one?
Tom Hanks.
Oh God, that would be gutting.
This is a really horrible wish list.
It is, right? I find it really fascinating.
Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he certainly looks bad in Silence of the Lambs.
He's done some dark shit.
Yeah. I said Andre 3000.
Oh, yeah, that would be disappointing.
Yeah.
I'm Jeff Goldblum myself.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you can't be funny when you're a sex pest. Or Bill Murray.
Bill Murray. I thought he was.
Oh, God. Really?
No, he plays bad people. But he's
Didn't he upset
gorgeous.
ScarJo during that movie they made? Didn't he say something to her? I might be making this up. I do think one of the unfortunate side effects of the #MeToo campaign, though, was that there was so much stuff coming out that it almost became like people started to become desensitised to what these women had been through, and it was like, well, was she one of the ones that were raped or not? Because if she wasn't raped, then it's not that bad. So I read an article in Huffington Post, and they said a really helpful hashtag would have been "I ignored it too," which I think is very true as well.
Right, because that's all of us. That's not just about women, that's about bystanders.
And that's about men as well, who knew that it was going on and did nothing and enforced those power imbalances.
I found out recently that there's a new code of conduct that they're using at the Royal Shakespeare Company, where it's not just any longer that you are invited or encouraged to report sexual harassment or assault, but that you are required to, and that if you stay silent when you are a witness to it, you are deemed to be held almost as culpable as the person who does the harassment. It's just a really interesting shift in consciousness, isn't it? From, not my business, can't speak up, it's okay to keep silent, to, I think that might be one of the changes that sticks, is that we're learning that we can't just be silent bystanders.
Yeah.
And that's what's important, that it's a cultural change rather than something that's, required by policy, because you do want people to feel like they can come and speak out, but you don't want them to feel like they're obliged to by policy, because it's almost re-victimising them. Like if they're not ready to speak out or it's not quite the right time for them, that should be okay and we have to respect that. But if we create a space where they feel like it's okay to speak out, then that's when real positive change happens, I think.
There's been a lot of talk I've seen on the World Wide Web about men being scared about hugging anyone now. And I'd say just don't.
It's like a bunch of people have just been saying, just regardless, just ask permission. It doesn't matter what you're doing, just ask permission. I don't know if I can, well, just ask permission. That's how you know if you can do something to a lady. You ask her.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of neurotic kind of, how do I tell the difference between telling someone that's a nice dress and rape? And it's like, it's not that hard.
Back to school for you.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys a quiz question. Pop quiz.
Oh my God.
I would like to know if you guys know what the top moment discussed on Facebook was this year.
Is this
globally?
New Zealand?
No, globally.
Oh.
Yeah, it's something like the America's Cup or something.
Globally?
Oh, sorry, I thought New Zealand. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
The inauguration.
No.
Was it the Melania rejecting Trump's handhold
I wish
thing?
it was.
Is it that Melania has a body double? Because I've been talking about that for a long time.
It wasn't a conspiracy theory, no.
Are you saying that wasn't a conspiracy theory? Like that was legit?
You should look at the chin. It's the same.
So the number one discussed moment on Facebook this year was the International Women's Day.
Wow.
International Women's Day in general was the most talked about moment. And then the second most talked about was the Super Bowl, and then the third was the Las Vegas shooting.
Holy moly.
The Women's Day, number one.
Yeah.
All over the Facebook.
What were they saying?
People were talking about it. Not necessarily.
Read out every single one.
All right, on a lighter note, I have identified for our friends on the Real Pod that probably the biggest thing that happened to you this year was Married at First Sight. Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
I think you're actually wrong. The biggest thing that happened to us was getting Nando's on board as a sponsor.
Oh my God!
Just a little bonus content.
I'll just clarify that's not
for our good friends at Nando's.
Not the sponsor of this podcast.
This segment, though.
Congratulations on getting a proper sponsor.
Thank you.
That we all got to benefit from when you bought all that.
Just opened a nice cold can of Garage Project there.
Was it worth it? Was Married at Sight worth it?
Yes.
For us as a nation?
It was very painful, and it probably was the reality show with the most villains, I would say, ever.
Yeah, it was.
Is that fair? Everyone turned by the end.
It was amazing, like how, it started off as this buoyant thing, like most marriages, I guess, and then plummeted downhill. But it was just amazing how quickly it gathered a lot of steam. I just think about Ben and Aaron's wedding and their whole relationship. There was no narrative arc. There was no character development. People just very immediately got into their roles and just sort of festered.
Was Ben the bad one?
Yeah.
The mean one?
There was a lot of...
He was so mean.
But that was sort of it, wasn't it? There wasn't really any narrative. It was just like a Hieronymus Bosch painting. It was just like people being tortured. I love reality
Ben
TV.
Thomas is talking about reality.
And
secretly, he's the Real Pod's biggest fan, and this is a huge moment for him. So don't ruin it by speaking over him. Give him an opportunity.
As you were, Ben.
I love New Zealand reality TV in particular. Those moments, on New Zealand's Next Top Model, where and they're catastrophic, massive bitch fight as somebody brushing past someone else in the hallway and going "Oh, you dick."
Yeah. Remember when Terrell Lee's heel went and then Hosanna laughed, during that segment. That was real. It was real funny. I actually put it on YouTube. It's still doing quite well.
Should have turned the ads on.
But Married at First Sight, yeah, it was just traumatic. I just felt really bad for these people. Like, you know, with The Bachelor, they kind of know what they're signing up for and it proceeds as you'd expect. Whereas Married at First Sight just seemed like this whole kind of trap that had been sprung on them.
Yeah, is it produced in bad faith?
They told us no.
It's the kind of in-depth reporting you get.
Their comms team were very clear.
They told us when I met the experts. No, I said, like, is this going to be a stitch up? Have you done like comedy pairings? You know, like a farmer and a city lawyer, you know, the most hilarious duo of all. I know. And they were like, no, the experts really, you know, we really thought about it. We had thousands of entries, which I don't know if for the men that was true.
They had 4 entries for sure, maybe 5.
True. Yeah, I think they want everything to work out well, because also, kind of, if you get lots of Bretton Angels, you get, I don't know, how does money work? Do you get more like Women's Day stuff? Like if you have a kind of Art and Matilda are an industry now,
but they're an industry
like
unto themselves.
How does money work?
Yeah,
they didn't need to
bigger
flog
question.
Tea. Or did they? Did Matilda ever flog the skinny tea?
No, you have to be bottom rung.
Yeah, that's real specific.
But I mean, is it going to come back? Do we know for 2018?
Yeah, certain it's coming back. 'Cause it rated really well, even though it was an absolute shit pit. But yeah, I think they were very genuine. Like I remember looking at all the couples at first blush and going, they've actually done a hell of a job. Like I thought Mr. Fluffy and his one
Claire
were amazing, and honestly they did fuck. They fucked for days. But you know, like there were just a series of unfortunate events. Like Mr. Fluffy doesn't know how to use a cell phone, like the send mechanism. He just replies to his wife rather than sending to his friend, and that's, you know, we've been there. He just went there very early, and so, you know, like it just a lot of things broke bad for them, but I believe in the franchise. I believe they were trying.
You believe in love.
I believe in the franchise.
I also think something that was good about it that we haven't really seen in stuff like The Bachelor was that the talent was just so loose on social media and to media, to traditional media. Like Lacey going live on Instagram after every episode being like, fuck you guys, I hate you all. It was quite new. It felt like you never get like
were they not locked down like contractually?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think they were.
I don't know if they had contracts.
No. Well, I think so. So as I understand it, like they did have that, you know, the classic. If you do anything wrong, you pay $1 million.
Yeah,
like that was real. That was there. But they just all went rogue immediately, and it's what, you're going to sue them all. Also, those contracts are bullshit because MediaWorks actually can't go to the High Court and sue like a citizen for $1 million because it would just be the most humiliating thing for the corporation. So they're really a sort of a way of getting you to think seriously. But the whole cast basically immediately decided it did not fucking matter and went rogue. And it was quite amazing because it felt like now this door is open. Everyone knows it's not a real door, and I don't know what I'm doing with that metaphor. Ben, can you take over the metaphor?
The Spinoff sue Lacey for $1 million for me for the hashtag fuck Leonie Hayden that she created.
What did she do that for?
Well, I honestly, she was overreacting. I maybe wrote a small piece about how the entire cast was not brown.
Yes.
And then I included a funny caption to a photo of her and one of the other girls, Angel and Lacey, saying they're even named after things that are white. She got very mad. I mean, I get it, but I feel like the hashtag fuck Leonie Hayden is... And it's too long, not catchy as a hashtag either. I don't think anyone else used it. That would have been much stronger. It's mostly what I object to is just the bad use of hashtags.
Yeah.
She didn't drop it though. What I liked is she posted the screenshot of the article, but then just for the next couple of weeks on just like her standing outside like a Honda Jazz, it'll be like, love being with my Honda Jazz, hashtag fuck Leonie Hayden.
Is that really true?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah.
I'm pretending to be mad about it. I was secretly very pleased.
Just shopping at hashtag Kmart.
I also feel like a Honda Jazz is quite a white car. Like if you're trying to dispel the myths.
Yeah, none of her behaviour did anything to dispel my impressions. Oh, my computer's gone to sleep. It's exciting. Oh, I did want to know if you guys know what's coming up in 2018 that you can share with us. What fresh horror in reality TV do we get to?
It's going to be
next year.
The cha-chang salsa return of Dancing with the Stars.
We're basically fucked. Like the lowest point of the real pod. What was it called? It was before the real pod.
I think it was called Dancing with the Stars pod.
No. Were we that shit?
Yeah, we were that shit.
That's terrible, guys.
We would do like 90-minute podcasts. No one's ever listened to them, so I don't know what's on them. But something happened for 90 minutes. We put it on the internet in like 2015. Yeah, that's entirely appropriate.
Why Mahiros is not happy
And they brought it back, I feel like, to torture us.
I think so. I think it's definitely what happened.
And like they put no offense to Di Henwood, but Di Henwood is the host.
We need to know what's going on there. 2018, we're going to bust open why Don Bowden's not back hosting.
Do you know the dancers yet?
No.
They asked me 1 year, but they haven't. And I said no, but they haven't asked me.
Do it. You have to do it.
No, they haven't asked me for this. That's way.
What if you just put yourself forward? Just fax through like your fax through your CV.
When was this, Michele? Like, are we talking Norm Hewitt era of like, the glory
was the year
days?
that Ewan Gilmore, the year after Ewan Gilmore did it.
Ewan McDonald.
Find the letter and just reply to it. Like referring to your letter in 1998.
With Jason Gunn, Michele.
Yeah.
All class.
Yeah.
Like Radio New Zealand is getting what, like $40 million from the new government for Radio New Zealand Plus.
Quite right.
And so I mean, like we can look forward to some, a bit of kind of bespoke, a bit of higher class reality TV next year. Like At Home with the Campbells, or
Yeah. Are you telling us that RNZ is branching out into reality TV next year?
I'm saying that I doubt that. Given that everything that Radio New Zealand currently broadcasts is just a dude behind a desk with a microphone, I doubt that they've put a lot of thought into their premium content TV service. And so I think like reality is the obvious kind of stopgap next year.
A webcam in John Campbell's house.
Yeah. You're listening, RNZ.
They'll do Real Housewives, but they'll do it in South Auckland, and all the women will have 3 jobs each. And I think it'd be great.
The real.
Those are Ben Thomas's opinions, not ours. We'd love to sell you content when you've got $38 million. We will not attach Ben Thomas to any of these projects. He's localised to the panel and he's happy there.
We're going to move on now. We'd like to talk about the year that was 2017 and music.
Yes.
I feel like the big thing for our music, well, for the Spinoff music anyway, is probably the fact that our Lord produced an album. Is that the biggest thing that happened for music this year?
By far.
Christmas song?
It's coming.
It's out.
It's out. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Sorry. There's been a lot of Lord this year. A lot of Lord on spinoff.co.nz. A lot of Lord in the airwaves.
You did List Watch, end of year lists that Kiwis have appeared on. how's the Lord featuring globally on end of year lists?
Lord's album Melodrama is at number 3, and I'm very closely watching because they get allocated points per ranking, so you get more points for a 1, slightly less for a 2, etc., down to like top 10, top 25. Anyway, close above it is LCD Soundsystem's American Dream, which is not an album that I dislike by any way, but I somehow just resent it a little bit for because they did this whole like, we're quitting, we're retiring, we did this big thing at Madison Square Garden, and then like 5 years later they're back. It's like, nah, you can't do that.
That was a big deal when they retired.
Anyway, that's right above it, so I'm hoping that it can jump that. Kendrick Lamar's Damn is like that's well ahead of...
See, I thought you were only collating information from the New Zealand artists. So you're doing like worldwide...
I'm relying on third-party resources to be
sure.
Completely frank.
Yeah. And who else from these islands is doing well overseas?
Aldous Harding's album Party is ranking pretty highly. I think it's somewhere around like in the 20s at the moment, which is really good.
Man.
Nadia Reid's Preservation had a really strong start with some of those like old fogey British magazines like Uncut. I really love the album, don't get me wrong, but the Uncut and Mojo, those guys, and they
still exist. Obviously,
they still exist, and
wow,
they hit the end of year list scene early. and they love Nadia Reid, as do I. And so she came out real strong, but she's kind of faded a little bit, unfortunately. She doesn't have a real lots of American magazines haven't put her in their lists, unfortunately.
So Lord and Nadia.
Lord and Nadia.
Did Swiddit carry? Has their popularity carried across the sea? Not even to Australia?
I think they're trying to get into Australia. It's really hard for rap music.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it travels out from the centre and it very rarely travels from the peripheries into the centre.
They had such a big year, though.
A huge year, amazing record. But it's just, I think it's just, I don't know if it's like the accents or the whole kind of way that rap music moves through the world is more like there are centres and everyone else pays attention to those. And it's very rare that a New Zealand thing would travel.
Can we also just point out that Australia has abysmal, outrageously bad rap music of it. So Hilltop Hoods.
Still going.
Very popular. Play 2,000 seat theatres for it's, and they just they barely. I mean, they had that one song this year that did okay here, but it's kind of amazing how bad their just their taste is. Yeah. So it would almost be I would think less of Swiddit were they able to crack Australia. Do you know what I mean?
But it's funny
when you assign the points, do you weight them at all for circulation or audience, or are they all the same?
No. Let me just be completely transparent. Someone else is doing all the mathematics is done by someone with a lot more time on their hands than I have.
Nielsen's is conducting that research.
So I'm looking at someone else's collation and I'm just saying, hey, look at this thing, I'm just there's a lot to do. Come on, I'm just one guy here. Come on.
Does anyone else have any music that got them super crazy excited this year? No? Wow. Wow.
I've been listening to Casey Kasem's American Top 40 on YouTube.
Oh,
yeah, from the 1980s. Yeah. But it doesn't even include the songs. It's just Casey. and that is it the AT&T ads for long distance phone calls and that. Yeah, so I'm not really. I don't have my finger on the pulse. Although sometimes I do listen to Rick Dees if I want to update myself.
Shut up.
Wow.
Yeah, but the most there was some good data coming out of Spotify last thing, and it was really quite shocking how. But globally, but in New Zealand, how Ed Sheeran just dominated the year. It's crazy. People love Ed Sheeran. I love him. Everywhere they love him.
It's astounding.
I don't get it. Is it okay to say that?
I think
I'm
that's
in a safe space.
Yeah.
I think he's really sweet, but so's the guy that works at the dairy.
That's kind of his appeal, right?
Yeah, he is. He's the nice boy down the chip shop, I think.
Yeah.
Sheeran bear.
He's like a busker with $1 billion.
Yeah, I've got another pop quiz question. Probably easier to answer if you work at the Spinoff, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Who knows what was the most read story on the Spinoff this year?
I got a good guess.
I've got a guess.
Can I try?
I'm going to let Ben answer first because he doesn't work at the Spinoff, so I'm interested
Mine's
to know.
going to be wrong as well, so.
Was it the abortion one?
You're correct.
How'd you know, Ben? I just remember it going off. Getting a lot of pickups.
The most read post was actually the policy tool produced in collaboration with someone else before the election with over 1,035,000 views. Ooh. But the most read story was why working in an abortion clinic changed my mind about termination by Lucy Kelly. Just shy of 500,000 page views.
So it was crazy when that was going off and to see where it was people from Dublin. It was
Ireland was big on that one.
The Irish seemed interested.
Yeah, very interested. Very curious about these topics. Yeah.
Shout out if I can just to Ollie and Asher who did build that policy tool.
Oh, good, thank you.
Incredible piece of work, which we were very proud to do very little except lap up the credit for.
You did some work on it, Toby. You modest man.
The top 3 posts. I mean, obviously this is to date. I can't predict for the rest of the year. But the top 3 posts were from our parenting section. So shout out to all the parents that read the spin-off. But the 4th most read page was just simply the politics homepage. So people were just showing up at politics just to see what you guys were talking about.
Browsing and then deciding nothing. I'm back to parenting.
Clicking out again. Lol. Okay, but one more question. I would like to know who knows what the most used hashtag of 2017 was.
Fuck Leonie Hayden.
Correct. Any guesses?
Is this in New Zealand or?
No, globally.
Was it Me Too?
It wasn't. Actually, didn't even make the top 10.
Was it International Women's Day?
No.
Was it Trump? Hashtag Trump.
It's to do with.
It wasn't MAGA.
That was number 2.
Oh my God.
So number 1 was simply resist. Hashtag resist. Number 2, impeach Trump.
Holy shit.
No, sorry. Number 2, MAGA. Number 3, impeach Trump.
That's why he won, I think.
Number 4, Trump train. What was that?
So get on the Trump.
That's his one.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Get on the Trump train.
And then hashtag women's march was the one.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm already on the
got
train.
some.
Coming last.
I've been a train We're walking.
It's been a roller coaster. So now we're going to do our New Year's honours list / New Year's dishonours list. And I've asked everyone to bring someone. This is very similar to a segment we do on the rag called Yas Queen. But in this case, you may choose someone of any gender. So I'm going to start with Alex Casey.
Okay.
And we're going to go around the circle. So first of all, we're going to do honours lists first.
Oh, no.
You can do a couple or whoever pops to mind. Read your whole list
I
out.
just wrote a list of things because I didn't understand the task. I went kind of time capsule.
Okay.
It's okay if you show your workings if you get the wrong
Of
answer.
2017.
Yeah.
And I put a max key fidget spinner.
Wow.
In the time capsule.
To put in a 2017 time capsule.
I feel like it sums up a lot.
Had that been what I asked,
It would have been
a
great.
really great entry. But now I kind of want to change it to that.
Fidget spinners also, they seem so long ago, yet they were this year.
It's a long
right?
year. Fidget spinners, we didn't know about them.
Specifically a Max Key one.
Yeah, the actual Max Key
Oh my God, I love
merchandise. It's only $8. It's quite a good deal, but that
You
is.
also get one free if you get one of the hoodies.
If you buy,
So,
you got one.
Alright, so let's go on the
You got a
time
couple.
capsule. And who's going on your honours list?
Well, I wrote Mark Richardson.
A dishonours list?
Yeah. And I wrote poo on a jet ski, which is not the most famous thing he did this year, but I just thought it needed to be included in his list of achievements, along with the Jacinda point, when you're having kids, basically almost everything he says.
Yeah.
But he also did a poo off a jet ski, so that's my
so
take
he's
on
top
the
in
year.
your dishonours list for 2017.
I think so.
Good.
I think so.
And do you have a Yas Queen? You have many.
Everyone loses in 2017. No, come back to me. I've stayed on the negatives. I only have bad things. So you go,
Michelle, your honours list
Honours
entry.
list, my 2, Christine Bartlett, because aged care workers finally got pay equity this year.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you, Christine. And I also want to, and I'm really sad that you get an honour for this, but Julianne Genter, the Minister for Women, is a feminist. And I think that's worth celebrating because we haven't had one of those. So.
Is that every day?
Yay. Every fucking day.
Wow.
Like 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew,
I don't know how she
tiring.
does it. She must get really sleepy. So, dishonours list, 3-way.
Oh, nice.
Like a John Key handshake. Don Brash, Alan Duff, and Michele Bogue, who I shout at my radio a lot, but I shouted really, really screamy, hysterically this week when she said that the ultimate result of the Me Too campaign and the post-Weinstein world is that young, attractive women will no longer be employed because employers will be afraid that they will incite sexual harassment.
That's a stretch.
So fuck her. So that's,
All right.
Yeah.
Henry?
So we're doing both now, right?
Yeah, honours list.
Honours list. I guess this is maybe kind of a bit obscure, but there's a writer, and her name is Gia Tolentino, and it's just had an insane year of like, and I was someone who like tries to write for a living, and knowing how difficult that is just like, honestly, like week after week on basically every topic that's not based in New Zealand that we talked about today has something on, and it's kind of like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there's something about that, like, that ability to reflect on like what's going on in society so quickly that I was just like, whoa, that's somehow
We've
like
given her a yes.
you could kind of have. I think you could have a year in review of like her online columns. That was what I thought. It's like if I think about 2017. You could almost like see it through the prism of her column.
Great.
Which is weird, but Dishonours list is very similar. Is not one person, but many people who are kind of like the same. Is a breed of New Zealand columnists, sort of, you know the ones. Yeah. I don't even know if we need to name them.
I mean, I plan to, but...
none of them write for the Spinoff.co.nz as far as I know, or maybe none of them have. But, there's been a lot of them, and I think we've done or doing a roundup of some of the worst offenders. But those guys, I think, they're my Dishonours list for the exact same reason as my honour list. It's kind of like a reflection of 2017, but in a really bad way.
Yeah.
And where the first one was international, this is like very local.
Yeah.
So go global through local or something. What's that saying? Think
globally, act locally.
Yeah, something like that.
Great. Tobias.
That's very media inside-y. Sorry, guys.
That's right.
My honours list is easy. That's obviously paddles. Okay.
Oh man. R.I.P.
And my dishonours, I was thinking maybe Colin Craig and Jordan Williams, who should be fired at high speed into the sun by your local magistrate, but it's still going at it in court. But in the end, I thought actually we'll give it to Peter Thiel, the leading New Zealander, Peter Thiel, who couldn't even be fucked coming to New Zealand to do his citizenship ceremony, instead did it in Santa Monica. So, I mean, honestly, I think he sums up a lot.
But money.
I think he sums up a lot.
I did serious ones. Now I feel unprepared.
No, do your serious ones. I have serious ones.
Brace yourself, Ben. Keep your eyes looking straight ahead. Don't roll them back into your head.
What's he going to be on? The Dishonours or Honours?
I already know.
Do you know?
Yeah.
So on my honours list, yes, it was badly played out, and yes, it could have been done better. But I'm giving Matidia Tude an honour for the intention of advocating for our most vulnerable New Zealanders and for making a huge personal sacrifice. And yes, you can have a well-connected mother-in-law and still be pohara and struggle. The struggle is real. You don't have to be a prostitute to qualify as doing it tough. So, karere taku mihi kia Matidia. My dishonours list, I know the columnists you guys are speaking about, but I don't want to name them because I just feel like it gives them mana and airtime that they don't deserve. They're losers, they're irrelevant, I'm ignoring them. My dishonours list, I'm going to go with Jonathan Coleman, because what's happened in Southland, what's happened in the Waikato, and we've done stories about whānau who have received appalling healthcare in those regions, is just not acceptable in a country like New Zealand. And do I do a yes, Queen, as well?
Well, you can if you want. I mean, you kind of already did, but...
Susan Devoy for taking the case of Ngā Mōrehu all the way to the UN.
Yeah.
You can roll your eyes now, Ben.
The strain.
I'm a Devoy booster.
So I feel like you guys all thought about this and had good, well-prepared things, and I just really didn't. And it's a real reflection of just how little thought I put into things and how kind of spin-off centric my dumb life is, these two. But anyway... and like latent narcissism, a lot of problems.
Are you on both?
It's Duncan
also,
Greive.
they're both
Duncan
dudes,
Greive,
which just doesn't seem appropriate for this year. Tom Sainsbury is my guy because I feel like the election. I find elections wearing. I find like. Tribal support like just difficult for me to absorb mentally. Like it just doesn't compute with me, and I found like just the way that he went for everyone and just inhabited Paula in particular. Like his Paula was just kind of extraordinary, and then like the New Zealanders that he conjured up felt more real to me than most that I've ever met, and he just sort of wandered into the Spinoff's life and New Zealand's and was just extraordinary. I love that dude. And my dishonourable mention, Sean Plunkett. Like I had a strange relationship with him personally, but I just don't. And it sort of seems weird to single someone out for just a freaking tweet, but that Weinstein tweet, like at that moment, and just the casualness of it, and the callousness of it, and just the like.
A little bit off time.
little, like I mean, yeah, like he could probably, with hindsight, he might reflect on that. No, just like I mean, it sort of seems. Like a little much to suggest that he should be alongside, like strapped to Jordan Williams on the rocket to the sun, but for just a tweet. But it was just
shouldn't even get the joy of the ride.
And also that was Toby's honest opinion, Jordan. If you're listening and you feel like suing someone, Toby Manhire, Point Chevalier wants that for him all to himself. But Sean came at me. Those are my two.
So I think my honours board is the Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern. The reason for this is that I think the first thing I wrote for the spin-off a couple of years ago was one of those groupthink kind of lists, of the winners and losers of 2015, and I put Jacinda down as one of my losers and said, after 7 years in Parliament, still shows a lot of potential. And then I saw her a couple of months later at some kind of Auckland thing, and she kind of fixed me with that, the same thing she did to Mark Richardson, the kind of the finger point and the U, and so I quickly backpedaled and said, no, I'll definitely make you one of my winners of the year, in the future. And and now that she's Prime Minister, I magnanimously will repay what I owe.
Wow. And she's definitely listening.
But she earned it. So, this isn't just a favour. And in terms of dishonours, just because no one's mentioned him, Tony Veach, just because we should always mention him, he should just be, he's a permanent MVP, he's a Hall of Famer in the dishonour list. His name should never be not repeated while he's still on the airwaves. That's pretty much me.
Nice. All right, mine, one of mine's actually in the room on my honours list. Mahinga rangi forward to Annabelle Lee for all your amazing work putting the stories of Ngā Mōrehu out there. You've pushed those stories and you've saved those stories, and I think they're really important, and I think you've done a lot of the heavy lifting for the government personally, and so that's really important, and also Pania Newton and the Soul whānau out at Ihu Mātau, and all the amazing work that they do and have been doing for years, and also Charlotte Graham. I think she was probably one of my favourite writers of the year, and Marama Davidson and Auntie Jackie from the Aunties, and Kako Solid for the amazing Equalise My Vocals program that she did with the spin-off. And then my dishonours list is, it's the same sentient fossilised rocks that we've all talked about so far, who hate Māori language and culture and knowledge and love harassing women and stuff, and they can all go to hell. They shall join the rocket to the sun.
Yeah.
And that's all we've got time for. Thanks, everyone. If you made it this far, thank you for listening, and sorry.
That's quite well.
Ngā mihi o te wā, and we will see you next year from the spin-off to all of you listening. Have a wonderful Christmas and New Year. Stay safe and be kind to each other. Hei te rātou. Bye-bye.
Do you find it hard staying optimistic with all the financial news in the media? I'm Bernard Hickey, and on my podcast, When the Facts Change, I'm here to help you navigate the ever-changing landscape of economics in Aotearoa. So join the conversation every Friday on When the Facts Change, brought to you by the Spinoff Podcast Network in partnership with KiwiBet.
Kia ora e te iwi, Te Aihe Butler here, podcast manager at the Spinoff. If you enjoy listening to our podcasts, consider supporting our mahi by signing up to become a Spinoff member at thespinoff.co.nz/donate. The Spinoff Podcast Network.